Hi, my name is David P Shapiro. I'm the owner and managing partner of the law office of David P Shapiro, located in San Diego, California, where my firm helps good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime. And one individual here in San Diego who's, up against a really serious case trying to regain some control of his bright future is high school basketball star Mikey Williams. And Mikey Williams is a highly touted basketball player here in San Diego. He has a scholarship to go play basketball for Anthony Hardaway Penny Hardaway, former NBA star at the University of Memphis. And on April 20th, Mikey Williams was arraigned in an El Cajon courtroom facing very serious felony, assault with a deadly weapon, and shooting at an inhabited vehicle charges. To those charges, he pled not guilty. Well, let's break it down a little bit. News reports are saying that earlier this year, there was some sort of altercation out in a house in Jamul, and it is alleged that Mikey Williams fired a gun into an inhabited vehicle. Okay, what does that mean in English? People were driving away from the house or in a car. He's alleged to have gone out there and shot at them. Okay, very, very serious charges. So he got arrested last week around like the 15th of April, I believe it was, 14th, 15th of April, 2023. And, news media got a hold of it, local, national media. This is, again, someone who's going to college on a highly touted accolades as far as basketball goes. San Diego local product, not a ton of San Diego basketball stars, other than probably Norman Powell, one of the more famous ones, Bill Walton, obviously, as well. Mikey Williams appeared to be on that path, right? Potentially going to the NBA after a stint at the University of Memphis in Tennessee. And now not only is that in jeopardy, now he's facing significant state prison time if he's convicted. Well, there's a couple of things in play here, right? First is, was anyone shot at? And second, was he the one shooting? And third, is there tricky? But, at this point, it's worth noting he has been arraigned. What that means is the district attorney's office has filed criminal charges against him. I believe it's each count for each alleged victim. Okay, so if there are 4 or 5 people in the car, he's charged with 4 or 5 separate counts. And then one count sort of all-encompassing of firing into an inhabited vehicle under Penal Code Section 246, we believe, is what he's charged with there. That charge in and of itself, if convicted, he's facing up to 7 years in state prison. Right, so a lot of things in play here, far beyond, how's this going to affect his scholarship? How's this going to affect his NBA prospects? If he's convicted of this, he very well could wind up in state prison. So a couple of things to keep an eye on. As we stand here after the arraignment on April 20th, all that means is he's been notified of the charges, he entered a not guilty plea to the charges, and he has 2 new court dates. The first is a readiness conference date. The second is a preliminary hearing date. Now, what do those dates mean? Well, a readiness conference date is a status where his attorney, the district attorney, and the judge talk about the case. Maybe they need more time. Maybe for Mikey Williams' sake, maybe the case gets dismissed. All depends, right? Between now, the arraignment, and that first readiness conference, what's happening is his attorney's getting a lot of the discovery, a lot of the reports. They're going to be reviewing that. They're going to be reviewing what Mikey Williams. They're going to probably get an investigator on board, try and figure out not only what happened, but what can be proven based on the state of the evidence and what's in his client's best interest moving forward, right? Thinking big picture, thinking not just what's in the best interest in court, thinking about what happens as it relates to Memphis, what happens as it relates to the scholarship, how all these things get intertwined. But first and foremost, when you're facing, serious charges like this, you're going to make sure you try and beat the case. And if the case is something that you have to plea bargain, you're going to try and keep your client out of prison and potentially out of jail as well. Now, it's worth noting again, he is presumed not of anything about what happened other than he's been arrested, he's been charged. And a lot of people have been charged over the course of time that were not only not guilty, were actually factually innocent, right? And this is a young man with a target on his back based on his fame, based on his notoriety. So that's something that needs to be taken, pretty much these allegations, with a grain of salt as well, right? Especially as outsiders who do not represent him, who do not have access to the police reports, and are hearing everything second, third, fourth hand, whether it's through people in the community, whether it's through social media, whether it's through ESPN, whether it's through whatever, right? So we need to keep that in mind. And this process will play out over time. Now, what's going to happen in June if the case does not resolve? There may be another continuance of a readiness conference, or they might just confirm that preliminary hearing date that has been set. I believe it's set for later in June. Now, a preliminary hearing is a probable cause hearing. So what that means is the district attorney must put on enough evidence to show that it's more likely than not that a felony was committed, and more likely than not the felonies that were charged were committed by the defendant, in this case, Mikey Williams. So what happens at a preliminary hearing? Well, a preliminary hearing is a lot different than a readiness conference. A readiness conference is where the defense attorney, the judge, the district attorney talk in the judge's office. They go out, they put everything on the record, the court reporter takes everything down, and it goes from there. A preliminary hearing is pretty much the closest thing to a trial other than a trial. It's like the Cliff Notes version, or like an abridged version, a shortened version of all the evidence that the district attorney believes is out there to prove their case. So they will call law enforcement witnesses. They will likely call civilian witnesses. They don't need to, but they might call the people that were in the vehicle, right? What happened? Why were you at the house? Did an altercation happen? Were you ever shot at? Did you see the person shooting you? How far were you away from the shooter? Did you know Mikey Williams? All those questions get asked, and his attorney has an opportunity to confront and cross-examine any witness the district attorney calls to testify. Now, that's a little bit different than the Sixth Amendment right to confront and cross-examine all witnesses against you. Okay, that is a trial right. So a lot of times people believe, oh, wait a minute, that's hearsay. I should be able to confront and cross-examine all these witnesses. Well, that's a trial right. Preliminary hearing, those rights aren't afforded to you as a defendant in a criminal case at a preliminary hearing. So a lot of times they don't need the actual individual to come in and say, this was the shooter, this is what happened. They could call the cops and say, I interviewed Joe Smith. Joe Smith told me the following, right? So California tries to move forward these preliminary hearings where you don't need every witness under the sun to come in, because it is a probable cause hearing. It's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which is trial. There's no jury, and it's a judge hearing the evidence. And at the end of the case, what happens is, at the end of the preliminary hearing, if the case gets that far, a judge makes a determination, says, okay, count one has been proven. Count two, count three, count four, count five, so on and so forth. And then what will happen is, assuming charges remain, there'll be another arraignment, and it'll sort of be like the process feels like it starts all over again, and a trial date will eventually be set, likely sometime later this year, or certainly and perhaps in 2024. So a long road ahead, very, very serious charges, but again, he is presumed to be innocent. Mikey Williams is presumed to be innocent. I think everyone needs to remember that, and I think it's easy to jump to conclusions. When you see someone in the news, when you see someone who's famous, when you see someone who's got you think the world at their fingertips, and like, what in the world are you doing shooting at people? What in the world are you doing with a gun? Well, that's just allegations, right? We don't know what did or what didn't happen, whether he was even there at this point. So, this is going to play out over time. You hope for everyone's sake, thankfully, no one was injured, whoever was involved, right? And you hope that this individual could regain some control over his future, because it appeared to be a bright one. I think it still is. Time will tell what effect this case will have on his future, on his freedom, and we'll be doing videos from time to time, checking in, making sure people understand what this means at each court appearance moving forward for Mikey Williams and for anyone accused of felony charges, particularly anyone facing felony charges in El Cajon, which encompasses East County of San Diego County. So if you have any questions about any case in San Diego County, particularly as it relates to criminal law, my firm is just one phone call away. We can be reached at 619-295-3555, 619-295-3555. Again, David Shapiro, San Diego criminal lawyer.